So Oakleigh, hello again.
Hello, good morning, welcome back. Feeling
pleasure
like
to
I'm
be-
back on the spot again.
You're in the moment. We're picking on you.
Yes.
So we're talking lithium ion. Now, battery technology, as we all know, has evolved at a heck of a pace. If you just take mobile phones,
Yes.
they've got smaller, thinner, lighter. And we've all heard about lithium ion. And it's talked about a lot. And, fellas up the road have got it on their motorhome. And, should I fit it to mine? Lead acid is a term that we're all familiar with, and then we've heard about EFB, AGM, gel, all these different types of leisure battery. But today we're going to focus on particularly lithium ion. But just before we do that, you found this in the back of your workshop. Now this is the old school. This is the old school way of Oakleigh explaining battery technology on a flip chart. I love it.
On a flip chart, well, on a whiteboard, but yeah. So the challenge is that lithium isn't just a battery. If you want to go lithium, you've got to think about how you're going to recharge it. So it becomes a system, and then that becomes a whole conversation. And so we found that the conversation was confusing for the consumer. So how do you break that down? We thought a picture. So this is what we did. We started building up with the different elements on there and explaining to the customer how it's fitted together. But as you'll rightly say, this is old school and we've moved on from this.
Now, you've invested a lot of time, money and research into lithium ion, the technology surrounding it, the application of it and the installation of it, and you've created a brilliant tool which we're going to have a look at now in your shop.
But the key thing is it won't be a static tool. This technology is moving on very quickly. Even from the last time we spoke to now, there's a new range of batteries out that have another level of functionality. So the key to it is staying abreast of the technology. So that's our job, if you like. And then our job is to make that simple to understand for the customer.
Right, let's go and have a look at your demonstration tool. So here we are, your modern day flip chart, Oakleigh.
Yes.
This is impressive. Now,
3D flip chart.
You've been very busy here. So this is the star of the show here. This is the lithium ion battery, which it looks very different to a regular battery, certainly in my motorhome.
Okay.
The connections are different. There's some kind of weird lights on the top. But just talk us through, what else have you got here on this impressive display?
Okay, so this is a system, and these, you may need this, some of this, more than this on your vehicle. It starts with the question, what are you trying to achieve? How do you use your vehicle? And then we would sit down with you and design what you actually need to achieve your aims. So, but to talk you through briefly, we've got the battery. You'll see here that there's a little device that's called a shunt. The shunt enables us to measure what's coming in and out of the system, out of the battery. It's then reported on a computer up here. How do we charge the battery? In this case, we've got a 230 volt charger that then feeds the lithium. You'll see a solar panel here, it's 120 watt. This particular one goes through a lithium appropriate solar regulator, and then again that comes down through a fuse box to the charger. And we've also got a inverter set up. They work really well with lithium. And lastly, but not least, we've got a B2B charger. This one's not connected, it's just here for show, but the B2B charger would then link the lithium battery to the alternator in the engine compartment. That potentially will give you up to 80 amps from the alternator to recharge the battery.
So that's kind of what you need.
Okay.
It's a long list, isn't it?
It is.
I have a what question.
Okay.
What does the lithium ion battery cost?
Good question. Today, this is around about 760. That's for a 100 amp hour lithium battery. As time goes on, these batteries will come down in price. However, the technology increases, and the technology then means the price goes back up again. So right now you can have a 150 amp hour battery in the same size case if you were restricted for size and you only had a battery space that you could put a lithium in. You could get today up to 150 amps in that space.
So we're going to come back to what amp hours are in a minute, if that's
Okay.
all right. But the kind of first question is, why do I need a lithium-ion battery? So, my neighbours have got one, and he's flexing about this all the time. I've got lithium-ion, and he plugs his wife's hairdryer in, and his hair straighteners. He's charging his laptop. The kids have got their PlayStation plugged into the battery. Brilliant. But I can do all those things, but I don't do any of that stuff. Why do I need one?
Okay, it's a great question. Why do you need one? So there's a couple of answers to it, and one of them's a bit technical, so bear with me. I'll make it as brief as I can. Imagine over time you've got a standard old lead-acid battery in your motorhome, and you're using all your devices, and over time the power is dropping off on that battery. So a lead-acid battery, it's going to be a curve, and it's going to drop off quite rapidly. That means that you're not going to get, by the time the battery is almost empty, you're not going to get 12 volts. You might be at 11 or 10.5 towards the end of that battery's cycle. However, lithium, the voltage you're going to get from it is pretty flat all the way almost to the end, and then it drops off and usually switches itself off because it wants to protect itself. So you're going to get your full 12 volts all the way to the end, and then it drops off. So that's the technical answer. The other answer is if you're going off grid, and this is where I think the benefit is, if you're going off grid and you're an owner of a vehicle and you're touring perhaps in a motorhome or a camper van, and you're going to drive for a day, stay overnight somewhere, drive for a day, stay overnight somewhere, and you're able to fit a lithium battery with a B2B charger, and your alternator can give you 80 amps, so it's 80 amps per hour. In 1 hour, you're going to recharge your battery 80 amps. So if you're driving for an hour between sites, or potentially 2 hours between sites, and you've got 200 amp hours on board, you are recharging and then you're ready to go. So if you think of the crisis we're in around electricity costs when you're hooking up, availability of LPG and gas, this potentially helps you go off grid just on electric only.
So let me just revisit that. We'll come back to the amp hour thing. But I'm going off to a campsite. I'm driving for an hour.
Yes.
My motorhome's giving out 80 amps. Okay. So I'm recharging my battery.
Yes.
And it's a 100 amp hour battery. So
yes.
If it was at 20 amps when I left home, I've recharged it.
You have recharged.
Okay, got it. All right, I get that.
Now, if you're a digital nomad and you want your laptop is the worst thing you can have. They absolutely eat electricity. So if you're a digital nomad and you're going to be working away from home and without a hookup, you're going to need some sort of system to give you all of the amp hours that you need to run that device.
Okay, well, I'm not a digital nomad. Okay. I don't think I am. I don't know what that is. No, I do. So I'm going to a campsite. I arrive with the kids.
Yes.
We've driven for an hour.
Yes.
We hook up and we stay on the campsite for 24 hours. We unplug. We go for a drive. We go home, and I can hook up on the drive at home, and I can recharge the van at home. Why do I need a lithium-ion battery?
You don't. Let's forget this. Let's go and talk about something else. Oh, no, seriously. Why would you?
Is it the case that I don't need one because I'm constantly recharging it with the engine and the hookup, and I'm not spending any great amount of time off-grid?
If you're hooked up, I would question why you would be going down this route. Because
what if I go away, then I'm away on my campsite, but there is no hookup. I'm there for a couple of days.
You're off grid then.
I'm off grid, but I'm not a digital nomad. I'm left the laptop at home. I'm not allowed to take it away on holiday. She'll tell me off. But I've got the lights on. I'm running the water pump. I've got the heating on in my caravan.
Okay.
Do I need a lithium-ion battery?
Hesitation. It would really depend on how much electricity you're using while you're away and what you're using. If you're going to be using a hairdryer and things of that nature, so again, they're not everyday, they're not the heavy use laptop, but they're everyday items, then in that case you will probably be wanting to fit an inverter. And if you're fitting an inverter is really well aligned to a lithium battery because you're going to get that supply of power all the way through. That lithium battery can give you a very high amps output that will feed that inverter.
Right.
and therefore you're going to get all of the facilities you want when you're off-grid.
So the answer then is, if I want to be able to use appliances while I'm off-grid,
Yes.
so I go to a campsite and there are no hookups left, but I want to use the hairdryer, I want to watch the TV, I want to use those 3-pin plugs, I can use an inverter on a lithium ion. If I do that on an AGM or EFB, a traditional leisure battery, that's going to drain it and flatten it pretty quickly, isn't it? So this is where lithium ion comes into its own. Is that right?
It is. That's a good summary. Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right. So we think that's an option for us. What do I need to consider then? So I've got a 4-year-old Adria Twin is our motorhome. And it's a van conversion for those that don't know. And can I just take the battery out and put a new one in? Put my lithium ion in? Spend 760 quid with you and bosh it straight in the hole?
Adria Twin, it's going to be a challenge because you're now talking about space and where you're going to put it. Okay. So we'd have to see if there's enough space under the driver's seat on a Twin to fit that lithium battery. If there is, then potentially yes, but I say potentially because you really need to understand or do some research what's in the vehicle and will it work with the lithium. So is the 230 volt mains charger that has been fitted by, in this case, Adria, has it got a function to work with lithium? And that would be the same process of thought on whatever the brand is. You need to get the manual out, read the manual. Is there lithium functionality within the vehicle? If there is, great. Then it could be as simple as fitting a battery. But if there's not, then I think you'd need to work through what the system is that you want to produce. Does that make sense?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
So for the layman watching this or listening to this, what we're saying is you need to get the manual for your control unit, the charger unit that's been installed by the leisure vehicle manufacturer. This is the important bit, isn't it? Either go and dig it out of that bag that you never look in, that came with the vehicle, or go online and find it and do your research and find the tech spec of that charger. And then, though, even then, give it to the expert installer to make the real decision as to whether it's compatible. Can you do damage to a charger if you don't do this and just fit a lithium ion and
you can
plug it in and see what happens?
You can damage the system. The system could be damaged. Which component, I can't say because there's so many different systems. You could damage the lithium battery. You could damage the control system. Yes, there could be damage.
So the charger is this grey box that you've got here on this brilliant display that explains kind of visually what all the components that you need to consider. So you potentially need to have a new one fitted, is that right?
Correct.
And what about your control panel that's installed in the wall in the motorhome or the caravan?
Hesitation. Honestly, it's not straightforward. We talk with other professionals and sometimes it becomes, how do we deconstruct what's fitted in the vehicle by the vehicle manufacturer? So there are systems in there that we're taking apart and rewiring to reroute things so that we can fit what the customer would like. So it's not a straightforward question.
So no, okay, right. So it's an option that you can't have it then.
We haven't found one yet that you can't have it, but some it's straightforward, plug and play. Some it's deconstruct. So yes, there's a range.
And rebuild. Now we are going to go and look at an installation that you've done on a motorhome, and it's very impressive, I have to say. We will come to that in a second. But just going back to the amp hour thing.
Yes.
Right? So we've gone through the charging. I left home, my battery was down on voltage, and it had 20 amp hours left in it. How do we discover how many amp hours are left in a battery?
Generally you don't if you've got a standard caravan or motorhome, because the display and the meter that is often built into vehicles is only a voltmeter. Yeah. So it's only going to show you the volts, which is not the amps. And
presumably a lithium ion will show you the amps, will it?
So most lithium ions will come with a built-in app, and the app you can then read on your phone, and it will tell you how many amp hours are available. In this particular demonstration, because the apps they're not true, because they're taking a reading, an average reading, basically. However, in this particular scenario, we've put a shunt in, so every single movement of electricity in and out of the battery is measured, and then we can report that on a computer that then sits as a display inside the vehicle.
Which on an electric car translates into remaining miles left in the battery, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
similar.
Got it. So we've explained we've got an 80 ampere alternator, and we drive for an hour.
Yes.
So in an hour, we've put 80 amps back into the battery. It's a 100 ampere battery. It's full.
Yes.
What about draining it then? So how do I work out how many amperes is my laptop going to take out of the battery?
So again, in this case, we're going to use the computer to show it, and the best way to demonstrate it is to plug a hairdryer. I don't have a hairdryer, I just have a heat gun from the workshop, but we can plug that into the inverter.
Okay. So on this display, we've got the current voltage of the battery. It's powered up and it's being recharged, isn't it, here?
So we're on 100%. So the battery is full at the moment. It's a 100 amp hour battery. I'm now going to plug my heater in, and you can see already that it's pulling 69 amps. Just turn it up a little bit more. It's pulling 150 amps.
So that's less than an hour of use if you did that, because it's only a 100 ampere battery,
Yes,
is that right?
Yes. If you wanted this on, and this is more powerful than a hairdryer, but it's the same principle. A hairdryer is going to pull a lot of ampage and it's going to drain that battery quickly. The good news is you don't use a hairdryer for hours.
If you're using that as a hairdryer, no wonder you're going thin. So I get it. So the power consumption of your appliance...
Yeah, look, because now we're down to 99 amp hours.
Yeah.
So you're already seeing what your consumption is. This would be a great thing to have in a van, and then you could teach your children the value of power and how quickly you use it, and maybe we don't need all the things on that we have on.
All my friends who've got solar on the roof are constantly on their app on their phone.
Yeah.
And showing off about how much power they're putting in, how much power is being pulled out, how much they're giving to the grid. It becomes an obsession, doesn't it? And it's a healthy one, I think. I think having an awareness of how much energy we're consuming is a good awareness to have. So that panel is a game changer then in terms of being informed.
Yeah.
And it shows you how long you got left.
This is about £90. In the scheme of things, very cheap. You could have that fitted in a standard vehicle. That is a really nice thing to having, because all it's going to do, or all it's doing, is measuring power in and out. You don't have to have it on a lithium system. It's just very useful on a lithium system. And if we're installing, we recommend them. But this is a device that's in the market that I think lots of people should have fitted, just so they can see exactly where they are with their electricity.
I mean, our control panel shows us the amount of amps we're drawing,
Okay.
and it shows us the voltage, but it doesn't show us how many hours we've got, how many amp hours we've got left in the life of the battery, which I think would save the day for most people.
This particular one will also show you how many hours until it's really fully recharged again. So, it's a great little device.
Yeah, it's brilliant, very useful. So we've got a solar panel here as well. Let's just break away from lithium. A solar panel will obviously work with any type of battery, lithium ion and lead acid.
Yes.
Just talk us through how that works.
Okay, so the solar panel is going to be mounted on the roof. The key thing for your solar panel is to keep it clean. If it's clean, you've got a better chance. The efficiency is getting better, the technology is getting better, so they're getting more out of the sun. But the main thing for us as users is keep it clean. The power from this comes down to a regulator. This one is a lithium, but it could be a regulator for a standard battery. Then the cable, in our case, goes through a little fuse box and then down to the battery.
And the control panel reports the input from the solar, does it?
Yes, it does, absolutely. It reports the input into the battery. So if we've got a sunny day outside, you'll see 4 amps, 5 amps, 10 amps coming into this. If you've got a traditional battery, not lithium, your maximum input is going to be 10 amps. Put more than 10 amps in, you're going to fry the battery, we see that. We see people putting lots of solar panel on their roof thinking, I'm really charging my battery, but then they're overcharging their battery and cooking it. So the benefit of lithium, again, is you can have higher inputs. In the same way as we said, you could have 80 amp hours off of the 80 amps off the battery engine alternator, you could have a solar array, a number of solar panels on the roof, feeding down through, and maybe 20, 30, 40 amps coming in from solar, which is where I think it will probably go.
So fitting too much solar is a risk then?
On a standard
On a
battery,
lead-acid battery.
correct, yes.
Now, there's a function, isn't there, on these lithium-ion batteries where they have a Bluetooth transmitter built into them and a computer on the top. This one has got its little LED lights on the top. Just talk us through what we're looking at there.
Okay, so within this case, and it looks like a traditional battery, but it's not. Inside here is a number of cells. The cells are sealed cells. They're not liquid acids slopping around the place. They are sealed cells.
Okay.
So from a customer's point of view, it's just some pretty lights. And on this particular battery, there's an on-off button. So you're going to switch this off and on. And then there's a computer on top called a BMS, a battery management system. And the visual for that here is some lights to tell you if it's the level of charge. So there's a visual display of charge level. And there's also a Bluetooth symbol. And the Bluetooth symbol indicates that we can then attach it to an app on our mobile phone. And then you'll be able to see all of the information inside that battery on your phone. It's not as detailed or as reliable as having a hardwired computer, but it's still a great level.
Yeah, so there's a lot more to this technology than just being a battery like the one you shove in your torch at home, isn't it?
Yes, this is not a battery. This is a battery with a computer in a case, ready for you to install.
So, and that's one of the big differences, isn't it, about a lithium-ion? The technology inside,
Yes.
but also the monitoring and the functionality.
This is a machine in itself.
Yeah.
It's not a battery. It's a battery. It's got a number of batteries connected by a computer and then put inside a case.
Yeah, got it. So there's a lot of technology here. I turn up to you and I want a solar panel, a solar controller that's lithium-ion compatible, a lithium-ion battery. I need a new charger because my caravan's not compatible. I need a B2B charger so I can charge it when I'm driving. I want an inverter so I can run my computer. What is this all going to cost typically? What kind of budget do people need to consider? I know there are so many variables,
Yes.
but you've already said the batteries themselves are £700 plus.
Yes.
What about everything else?
So I think today, February 2023, we're probably in the region of £6,500-ish, and that's a variable, but that will give you a feel for budget if you need everything. You might not need everything. You might not need all of the items, but that's a ballpark figure.
So I've got a flat lead acid battery, £6,500 to go lithium ion, or 150 quid for a new lead acid battery. It's a big difference, isn't it?
It's huge. But the question is, what do you want to do with your vehicle? What's your plan using your vehicle going forward? How long are you going to keep your vehicle?
Well, yeah.
You know?
And what if I'm only keeping it for a year because that new one is delayed again? So I've bought a second-hand one. I want to put this in it. Can I take it out?
Absolutely. So our approach is we fit aftermarket items. These are after the manufacturer has built the vehicle, but we fit them in a way that you can then take them out again and then put it back to as spec by the vehicle manufacturer.
Right, so it's all transferable to my new vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do you think we're going to see manufacturers fitting lithium-ion systems like this in the factory from new?
Some of the manufacturers are already fitting battery chargers that are compatible with lithium ion, so they're sort of halfway there. The spec that I'm seeing is quite a low spec, so this mains charger could be 20 amps, could be 80 amps. The difference in price is £260 to £1,000. Right. So it will depend on if the customer is willing to pay for that level of upgrade at that purchase point, or if it's an option, or if the dealer has got the skill in-house to do that for them.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is the customer and the consumer's understanding of what this technology is and why you need it and when you don't need it. As we say, 90% of people don't need it, do they?
No. If you're yes, as the things we've said earlier, if you don't need it, why spend your money on this? You could have something else that might be more fun for your vehicle, and you could have adventures in a different way.
Yeah, quite. Now you've kindly brought a vehicle back into the workshop, which you've been busy working on,
Yes.
and you've installed a whole system like this.
Yep.
And you've said we can go and have a look at it. Can we do that?
Yep, please do. Come on
Let's
in.
do it. So we're here in the workshop on our knees, knelt down by a Swift Contiki motorhome. And this has had the full Bristol Caravan treatment. It's got 2 lithium-ion batteries. Interesting, the same size as the one that we were looking at just now on the demo unit, but these are 150 amp hours each. So this customer's got 300 amp hours available to him. You fitted a new control system, and well, talk us through what's in here, Oakleigh. It's a heck of an installation.
So you can see the batteries. We went for these particular batteries because the customer didn't want to use up habitation space. So the vehicle from the manufacturer has enough room for 2 standard size batteries. So we've put in 2 batteries that were 150 each. So he's got 300 amp hours. To recharge them, we've fitted a lithium appropriate battery charger to charge. He had existing solar panels on the roof, so to use that energy, we're now putting that through a lithium appropriate solar regulator.
So is that a new bit of kit you've had to fit?
New kit, yeah.
Okay.
So the solar regulator is new, the battery 230 volt battery charger is new, the 2 batteries here are new, and then this large unit you can see on the side wall is the battery to battery charger, so that we can take amps from the alternator in the engine. In this case, it can take up to 80 amps.
Yeah, okay. Now, this motorhome, for those that know anything about Swift motorhomes, Auto Trail as well, uses a Sargent electrical system, the command system. So the customer has been able to monitor the battery levels from their sofa 100 miles away from the van over the app, but they can't do that now. Is that right? This is an interesting point.
That's correct. So the system that we've put in, which is the most advanced that we've seen at the moment, does not have a SIM card based communication system. It's Bluetooth. So there's 2 ways that the customer can now monitor their battery situation, and they are going to be able to monitor what's coming off of the roof from the solar panels, what's coming from the engine bay through the B2B charger, and what's coming in through the 230 volt charger. So they can see all of that, but they can see it in one of 2 ways. One is there's a hardwired computer that's been mounted inside. We'll have a look at that in a moment. And separately, they can use an app on their phone, but the app is Bluetooth, so that they won't be able to see it from 100 miles away.
So within range of the motorhome, they can monitor everything, but surely that technology is coming. It must not be far away.
Yeah, it must be around the corner. We haven't seen it yet. This particular install that we've done is latest technology. This is the 3rd install for this system in the UK, so that gives you a feel for where we are working through the systems. We haven't seen a SIM-based communications package yet, but like you say, it must be around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, this is cutting edge, isn't it? But important to note, the command system and the Sargent system is still in situ on the van and is still running all the habitation area, isn't it? It's just the charging and the way the power is being utilised from the batteries into the motorhome that you've had to change.
As a summary, yes.
And out of interest, how long did it take to do all this?
Oh, that's a good question. I should think it was probably 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah. And the cost?
This particular install was about 5,800 with the batteries and all the parts and labour and everything.
And of course, they had solar already, so they'd been paid for, and that includes VAT as well, doesn't it?
Yep, all in. That's it.
Yeah. So you are looking at 5 to 6K for a professionally installed, fully functioning, cutting-edge lithium-ion solution, aren't you?
Yes, depending on what you spec and how you want to go about it, and that all starts with a conversation with the customer about how you're using your vehicle, what do you want to do. And once we understand that, then we can build out some options, and the customer can choose.
Let's go and have a look at the control panel that you've installed inside as well.
Okay, super.
So we're inside the motorhome and we're going to take a look at the control panel, and you can see here that the guys have installed the panel so that it is integral to the motorhome. Now this control panel has an awful lot of information on it, isn't it, Oakleigh?
Yes.
It's telling us what power we're drawing. So currently you can see it says minus 9.6 amps.
Because we've got lights on and
Yeah.
things. We're in the habitation area.
All the lights are on, and when the engine's running, it tells us what power's going in. From the solar, it tells us what's going in, and from the hookup on a campsite, it tells us what's going in. But you've also, though, connected this panel to every component on the system, haven't you, on the installation? Yes. How have you done that?
So all of the components are connected via data cables. On the first demonstration rig that we talked through, you could see that we were measuring through a single shunt.
Yep.
On this particular system, we've got the shunt, yes, but we've also got a data cable going to every component. The B2B charger, the mains charger, the solar regulator, and each of the batteries individually.
Wow, so that for the consumer, they can monitor everything that's going on through this panel.
Absolutely, every single component, you can see what's happening.
Now, there's also an app, isn't there, phone app that NDS make,
yes,
and that does the same as well on your phone while you're sat in the motorhome?
Yes, and that's run via Bluetooth, so you can see the same when you're near the vehicle.
You never go out for a walk.
No, it's too much information.
You just sit there looking at everything that's going on your batteries.
The main thing is, when you're away, you can be off-grid somewhere, the hairdryer is still available, the tongs. If you want to use a laptop for a short period of time, you can use your laptop. You're off-grid and you can live off-grid.
Well, the key for me is having that power available to you for a time period that you're aware of, which is what this system tells you, isn't it? By virtue of amp hours.
Yes.
You can see what you're drawing. You know how many amp hours you've got in the garage. So if you've got this chap's got 300,
yes,
if he's drawing 30 amp hours, he knows he's got 10 hours of use.
Absolutely. So this is really where people have just said, I've got a leisure battery, and not had to think about it beyond that. This is us learning to educate ourselves on how much power we consume and how we can maybe reduce the power that we can consume, how we can live off-grid with a limited amount of power. I think it's a great educational aid.
Yeah, it is. And it also educates us on how we regain power. So whilst you're sat here using your laptop, this has got solar on the roof. And of course, that's offsetting some of the drain that we're pulling from the batteries. And you can start to become informed of how much power you get from the sun, which is, once installed and paid for, is free.
Yep.
And how much you can draw off of fossil fuel, i.e. from the hookup.
Yeah, but don't forget, there's other free energy, if you like. When you're driving your motorhome, camper van between sites, and if you've got a battery-to-battery charger, you're then drawing power off of your alternator, and that's recharging the batteries as well. So it's another form of free. I know you're paying for the fuel, but you're driving there anyway. There's another way of recharging these batteries.
But of course, is fossil fuel again, and there's no guarantee that your electric is clean energy either, is it?
Correct. I think long term, maybe we'll see vehicles being made out of solar panel material all the way around the body.
Yeah.
That will then feed into lithium batteries, and then you can live off grid without LPG or diesel.
Yeah, and that's the way it's going, isn't it? And this is a fascinating insight into how this wonderful niche of ours is changing. Lithium ion is here to stay, I think.
Yes.
And, well, it's interesting to watch it and see how it evolves.
Well, we've got it in our phones, we've got it in our cars. Now you can have it in your caravan, motorhome, camper van, and it is the future. We're on a journey. This is where we are at the moment, but I agree. I think long term, we're going to be seeing more solar, however that looks, and then that will be recharging your batteries so you can live off grid.
Oakleigh, thank you ever so much. That's been a real insight. There's a lot to unpack, isn't there?
It's a vast subject. We've skimmed the surface.
We have.
And even in doing that, it took us some time. So when you talked originally about coming and having a chat, I did wonder how much of a chat we'd have and how far we'd go. But hopefully that gives you and your viewers and listeners a good feel for where to step off into this subject.
The key is, what is it? And you've really helped us understand that. That's been great. Thank you. But the fundamental for me, as we would always both ask the customer, is why? Why do you want it? Are you just keeping up with the Joneses, or are you actually going to benefit from having it? Do you need it? Why do you think you need it? And it's easy, isn't it, to just have that kind of magpie, kind of shiny thing mentality with lithium ion, because it is the new fandangled thing that I think a lot of motorhome and caravan owners are talking about. But the other key that's really come across today is the importance of making sure you talk to an expert about your install and making sure that it's going to work in your leisure vehicle safely and correctly, isn't it?
Yeah, safely is the key word.
Yeah.
You're talking about big amperages, And when we're installing this, we're putting big cables in, and the reason we're putting big cables in is because they can take the load, and we're putting lots of fuses in. So, yeah, safety first.
Yeah, fantastic. So where can people find out more, Oakleigh, if they want to talk to an expert about having lithium ion installed? Give it your best shot.
Come and speak to us.
And where do they find you?
We're bristolcaravans.com, and it starts with a conversation, or drop us an email telling us what you're trying to achieve, and then we can start a conversation around what you're aiming to do, and then what your budget is, and how we can help you.
Brilliant. But the important thing is talk to an expert, whether it's Oakleigh and his team here at Bristol Caravans, but don't, for goodness sake, try installing this stuff on your own, and watch a YouTube video and just, I can do it. It's not that simple. Safety is so important. As you say, it's big amperages. It needs to be professionally done. Talk to an expert. Do your full research before you embark on this. And ask yourself the question, do you even really need it?